What's up, Dragon Nation? I'm Rich with Dragon Nation Gaming. Welcome back to another Space Engineers tutorial. This episode, we want to go over power, the different types of power, how power works in the game, and the requirements for some of the stuff that you need to build. I'm going to try to make this not so confusing, but there's a lot of stuff we got to talk about. So let's go ahead and get this started. Alright, so when we go into power, there's one thing we need to keep in mind, the amount of power. So there's two primary ones that are used in this game. Let's actually go over here and see if I can see both of them. So we got the solar panel, which the output is in kilowatts. If we go to the battery and go over here, you can see that it's in megawatts. Now, a megawatt is 1,000 kilowatts, so always keep that in mind. Right now, where the max required input for this battery, let's go to the output. Max output is 12 megawatts. So it takes 1,000 kilowatts to equal 1 megawatt, and this is 12 megawatts, so that's 12,000 kilowatts to equal 12 megawatts. Always keep that in mind, especially when you're trying to do solar panels. So let's go ahead, while we're talking about solar panels, let's go ahead and start with those. As you can see, this is the solar panel. The solar panel, the amount of power that it outputs, is dependent on how well it is facing the sun. As you can see, we don't have a very good alignment to the sun. We need to make sure that the blue part of it, is facing towards it, kind of like this one laying down right here. Now, because it doesn't have direct alignment to the sun, you can see that we're only getting about half the power. So when we're getting full power or close to full power, all four of those lights will light up. For example, we can see that over here on this one. So all four lights are lit up. That means we're almost close to 100% power output on that solar panel. But of course, here pretty soon I'm going to go ahead and try to align the solar panel perfectly, so that way we can figure out exactly how much is the max power output you could get on the solar panel. Right now, we have those two solar panels. We have the first one, which is standing up. That does not have direct sunlight, so right now the max output is 47.97 kilowatts. The second solar panel, the one that is laying down, has a little bit more direct sunlight, so it's outputting 147.79 kilowatts. So about 100 kilowatts more? Yeah, actually. Almost exactly 100 kilowatts more. So what I want to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and try to line up a solar panel to see what the max output of a solar panel is. Now, the best way to do that, we could do that with rotors, hinges, stuff like that. But the best way is to build your station aligned towards the sun. So when we start building a station, if we grab our first block and we point at the sun, go ahead and rotate your block until kind of get, well, it's not going to be perfect. Try to get as close as possible. Actually, we need to go that way. Oh, no, too much. Yeah, it's really difficult to do, but you can do it. All right, now we're going to go ahead and put down the blocks since now we have it aligned. Let's go ahead and get away from the voxel a little bit, so we have room to place it. Oh, and I got to bring it down. Hold on. All right, no, come on, go down. There you go. All right, let's go ahead and put that into place. And as you can see, eventually all four lights will light up. So now what I need is an access point. So that way we can take a look at that solar panel. So right now it's outputting about 159.57 kilowatts. So I would say the max output for a solar panel is about 160 kilowatts. So whenever you're trying to do the math, go ahead and keep that in mind. Alright, so the next one we need to go over, I think that's about it. Yeah. Alright, the next one we need to go over is the battery. Well, actually, you know what? The battery is extremely complicated. It's going to take a little while to explain everything that we need to talk about with the battery. So let's go ahead and go over the small grid solar panels. Let me find a access point real quick. Alright, so the solar panels for the small grid. Wow, really? That's it? It puts out almost 12 kilowatts. That's the one that's standing up. It doesn't have direct sunlight. The one that has better sunlight is almost 37 kilowatts. And that's the small grid solar panels. So very, very little power. Now, if you want to put that kind of thing into perspective, let's do this real quick. Alright, so the large solar panels, the direct sunlight is, I think it was what, 160 kilowatts? What I want to do right now is I want to go ahead and grab a thruster. We're going to go ahead and put it on the station, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that on max override. So come to the control panel, go down to thruster, ion thruster, thruster override, maxed out. So right now that thruster is at 345 kilonewtons. The max required input is 3 megawatts. That actually seems like a lot. To run one thruster, you would need 300 solar panels, around that, 260, something like that. 260 solar panels to run one thruster. Yeah, I'm not going to be doing that shit. So yeah, putting solar panels on a ship is not really the smart thing to do, but it's up to you. It's your game, play it how you want. Alright, let's go and get rid of that thruster real quick. Alright, the next one we want to go over is nuclear power. So yeah, the game crashed on me. I had to reload. Alright, next thing we want to go over, we're going to skip the batteries for right now. That's going to take a little bit more time to get into. Let's go ahead and go into nuclear power. So this is the nuclear reactor, the small, large grid nuclear reactor. So if we take a look, the max output is 15 megawatts. If you remember, the battery had 12. So the small reactor and the battery are almost the same amount of power output. So whenever you're trying to build a ship, just keep that in mind. There's only 3 megawatts difference. That's it. Now when it comes to a large reactor, that one is max output is 300 megawatts. So yeah, you do the math between the small reactor, which is 15, and the large reactor, which is 300. Sometimes it's a very good idea to try to put a large reactor, especially on a large grid ship. Now, when it comes to a small grid ship, you can go down to batteries, but yeah, if you have the fuel, go ahead and put a large reactor on there. All right, the next one is this piece of shit. So, I'm not a fan of the hydrogen engine. I mean, it is useful to a point, but yeah, it's not very efficient, and it is kind of not worth using at all. I mean, it is kind of cool. I do like it, but yeah, I've tried it before, and it's kind of a pain in the ass. But the max output is only 5 megawatts. So the weird thing is, the battery puts out, like 2.5 times more power than a combustion engine, which is what the hydrogen engine is. It's a combustion engine. Combustion turbine. How would you actually classify that? I'm not even sure. But yeah, my point is, as much ice as this thing uses up, what we do is we take the O2 generator, put ice in, it turns into hydrogen, and the hydrogen fuels this engine. Now, the amount of ice that this thing eats up to keep running and to charge anything really isn't worth just the 5 megawatts of power that we get. Now later on, we'll go ahead and test this all out. There is one thing I do need to show later on, and that is the priority of each of these power sources. Each power source has its own priority. The engine, the hydrogen engine, I will have to test out because I'm not sure which one that is. The other one we need to go over real quick is the wind turbine, which does not work in space. Actually, I think it's like the solar panel, and it won't tell me what the max output is until I actually place it. Yep, thought so. So yeah, the max output is 0 because we're in space. So what I need to do is I need to go ahead and teleport down to the planet, and we'll go ahead and place one and see what we need to make one of those. Alright, so I'm going to take this slow to make sure I don't make any mistakes. I haven't tested this out before on my own, so this is going to be kind of new. We have the battery right there, which is just going to allow us an access point. One thing I noticed when I came down here, check that out, an eclipse. I think that's one of the planets that actually looks really cool. I don't think that's the moon. No, I'm pretty sure that's not the moon. But anyways, so this is a wind turbine. This is how it works. One thing we did try to figure out in a live stream once is, well, wind turbines are kind of weird. The way they work is the further away they are from voxels or other blocks, the better they work. When I say voxel, I mean the ground right here. That is all voxels. And then, of course, the blocks. So right now, we have this thing set up on 1 block high. It's actually sitting right near the ground. So this should be the least amount of power that it can produce. Now, when you're placing a wind turbine, keep in mind that a wind turbine is a 3x3 by 1, 2, 3. Is that right? Yep. So always keep that in mind when you're trying to place these. Also, make sure they're far enough away from other blocks. So let's go ahead, make sure we actually go in the wind turbine and not the battery. So wind turbine, right now the max output is 213 kilowatts. And it says that the wind clearance is poor. Well, let's go ahead and do it like this. What I want to do is, I did figure out once that the highest you want to put it, or the least you want to put it, is 8 blocks above the ground. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So let's go ahead and put it right here. So earlier it was above 200 kilowatts. Let's see what it's at right now. Almost double. So the wind clearance is optimal. That means it's maxed. That's the most power that I think we can get out of it. So what I want to do right now is I want to try to see if I can't get that higher. So let's go ahead and go another 2 blocks. So right now it's 427. So 1 and 2. Now let's see what happens. And the max output on the wind turbine is 427. So yeah, it looks like it's 8 blocks. But just to make sure, what I'm going to do is we'll get rid of the 2 blocks we just put in and go down 1 more block. Now let's see what kind of power we got. So yeah, I know this episode might be a little bit longer, but I just wanted to test stuff out. So wind turbine. And sure enough, it goes from, I think it was 427 to 397. So it looks like that is true. You need 8 blocks high. So you need your base, which is ground level, to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then the 1 more to make sure it's an optimal height. But here's the thing we also want to check out. Let's go ahead and put that turbine, get rid of that turbine. And put this one back where it's supposed to go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and place another turbine right next to it. So, right, is that where I want to go up? Yeah, because it's 3 by 3. Alright, so let's double check. Make sure all is good. So yeah, 427. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up to the same height and put another wind turbine right next to it and see if it drops the power. So right there. Ah, you bitch. Alright, so the game crashed on me. Again, this is the second time this episode that it's crashed on me. Alright, let's go ahead and place that one right there. Now let's go ahead and check that wind turbine and see if we lost power. So I think it is this one. So yeah, 374 kilowatts is the max output. It was at, what, 427? So yeah, it did. By putting that wind turbine a little too close, we did screw it up a little bit. So what I want to do now is I want to go ahead and move this one out a little ways. So still the same amount of blocks, the 8 blocks, and see if that helps. Alright, there we go. Let's see what we got. So do we get up to that 427 again? Alright, it's up to 427. And now 427. So it is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's actually 10 blocks. I went too far. My bad. Should we test it again? No, I recommend if you want to get the exact spot or a distance they need to be away from each other, you work on that on your own. It's a good idea to figure out some of these things on your own. So next thing we need to go into is probably the most difficult one. It's not too difficult, but it can be a little bit confusing, and trying to explain it can be difficult. And that is batteries. Let's go ahead and go back up to space and we'll go over that. Alright, so the difficult thing about batteries is batteries are not autonomous. Batteries do not work on their own. You cannot put a battery on a station and expect it to work forever. At some point you are going to have to charge that battery, which is why the batteries require a little bit more information than everything else. Because not only do we need to worry about the max output, we also need to worry about the max input. So let's go ahead and go to the control panel real quick and I'll show you what I mean. So this is the control panel for batteries. Bottom right hand side, it'll give you all the information that you need to know. Some of it you don't really need to know. There's only a few things you really need to keep an eye on. One of those things, of course, max output. Now the max output of a battery, of a large grid battery, is 12 megawatts. The max required input to charge the battery is 12 megawatts. Now, if you remember, the small reactor has a max output of 15 megawatts. That means 3 more than we actually need to charge the battery. So when batteries first came out, I thought, well, I'll just build like 3 large nuclear reactors and that will charge the battery instantly. Well, it doesn't work that way, because there is a maximum amount of power that you can put into a battery. That's that max required input. So I can only put 12 megawatts into this battery to charge it up. Then the next thing you need to keep an eye on is the current input. That will tell you how much power is going into the battery to charge it. The current output, it will tell you how much power you have left in that battery. So if you're trying to run something and you're not sure if you have enough power for another object that you need, you can go ahead and check that out, then check that other object and see how much power it takes to see if that battery will be enough. And then you have this right here at the bottom. Now this will change. Right now, because it is on auto, it's actually discharging the power. It's fully depleted in, well, it doesn't have a time because the output is 0. So it has no time to tell. But when you're charging the battery, that will change to recharge, but we can't recharge it because it's fully recharged. Alright, so there's 3 different selections right here. You have auto, recharge, and discharge. Now, recharge and discharge are simple. Whenever you want to recharge the battery by hand, you could choose recharge. Whenever you want to use the battery's power, you go to discharge. Or if you want to do it automatically, you go to auto. Now the auto is a little bit more difficult because, as I was saying before, each power block has its own priorities. So what I need to do is I need to set up something real quick so that way I can show you. Actually, you know what? We'll just use what we have set up here. Since that battery is already charged, we'll just go ahead and use that real quick. Let me get rid of this behind here before it distracts me. Alright, so right now we have nothing using power, so nothing should show. So everything, the max output, the current output should be 0 on everything. Of course, the hydrogen engine is going to because it has no fuel. Current output 0. Current output 0. Now I'm showing this so you guys know there is no power output in this entire base. in this platform is not outputting any power. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and find something that requires power to output so we can test some things out. Alright, so right now what I did was I went ahead and set up that O2H2 generator with about 10,000 kilograms of ice. It's down to, we gotta hurry. It's almost down to 6,000. So it's already went through like 4,000 in like 2 minutes. Alright, so what we need to do right now is I double check to make sure the battery is on discharge. Each one of these items has its own priority. So if you have every single one of these items on your station will choose whatever item has the first priority to power your base. If that doesn't have enough power, then it will go to the thing with the second priority. Now we need to figure out what that is. All right, let's go into the O2H2 generator control panel. So the required input is 500 kilowatts. That's how much power is being drained from one of these power sources. Now, I do think it is the battery should be our first priority. And sure enough, current output on the battery is 501 kilowatts. If we go to the hydrogen engine, the engine is actually turned off. I need to turn that on. All right, now it's on. Let's go ahead and double check. So the battery, 501 kilowatts. Hydrogen engine, current output, 0. Nope, that's the hydrogen tank. Large reactor, current output, 0. Not the O2H2 generator, don't need that. Small reactor, current output, 0. Solar panel, current output, 0. What that means is right now, since the power is being drawn from the battery is the main priority. That's where your power will come from first. Now, let's say that battery runs out of power. It has no more power left. Current output is 0. The next priority would be a solar panel. As you can see, the current output is 47.97 kilowatts. The problem is solar panels do not produce. That solar panel is not producing what was it? The 500 kilowatts we need for the O2H2 generator. But yeah, the solar panels, if you had enough, that would be the second priority. But let's say solar panels become damaged. So we'll turn that off. The next priority should be it be the hydrogen engine? No, that's only 7 kilowatts. Large reactor? 469 kilowatts. Oh, so, I see. So I've never actually tested this out before. It's actually kind of cool. So the reactors have the same priority as the hydrogen engine. It looks like they haven't set up those priorities yet. That's interesting. I did not know that. All right, let's go and do it this way. Let's see. Let's shut you off. Now do the nuclear reactors. So this one has current output of 477. This one has 23. So yeah, the reactors work together. When you have a small reactor and a large reactor, they will work together and they'll split the power consumption. So yeah, the hydrogen engine has the same priority as the reactors. I did not know that. I thought it would have its own. Well, I guess that's something they just never got into. I mean, you would think it would, but it apparently does not. So already, just keep this in mind. In order to run let's say a ship with the solar panels, I would need about 120 solar panels to run the yellow respawn ship that we built last episode. The episode before. The yellow respawn ship. It would require about 120 to run all the thrusters. So 120 solar panels is not something I'm going to put on a ship. Sorry, not going to happen. Batteries Batteries have about the same amount of power as a small reactor, so if you put 3 small reactors on a ship to run the thrusters, 3 batteries should be enough. So 3 and 3. Depending. Like I said, there's like 3 megawatt difference, so always keep that in mind. Of course, the large reactor, that's the best power we have in the game right now, so you definitely want to use that one if you can. The hydrogen engine, I recommend not even using it unless absolutely necessary. Now, it is a good backup, a good emergency, but you do need a lot of hydrogen, and you also need a lot of ice and able to keep that thing running for an extended amount of time, at least long enough to charge up a battery so you can keep working. So I try to stay away from using the hydrogen engine altogether, but I have used it from time to time just so I could build new stuff that I've never built before. So yeah, when it comes to power, that's pretty much everything you need to keep in mind. I hope I didn't forget anything, but I always do, so I probably did. But yeah, I think next episode what we'll talk about is we need to go into upgrade modules for refiners and assemblers. Until then, make sure to like and subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.